Yo, what's good? It's your boy Logan back with another poker vlog. It's going to be episode 3. And this one, we'll be going over some home games I played over the past months. I haven't been able to go to MGM recently just because I've been busy with school and applications, but I will be going back there shortly to get some more footage. Also, I'm going to the Bahamas next week to play some poker there and just stay at Atlantis Resort too for spring break. It's going to be super fun. Going to get some footage there as well. But for this vlog, we got 2 sessions. Again, it's going to be from a home game. We play 1-1. We got some crazy pots, 4 3-way all-ins, and I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get straight into the first hand. Hero, me, is in the big blind with the ace of hearts, ace of diamonds. Beautiful pocket aces to start off the sessions. Under the gun raises to 3. Small blind calls, and I decide to raise to 10 because we got that caller, so I bump it up a little more. Under the gun calls, small blind folds, so the pot is $23. Heading into a flop, we got the 8 of diamonds, king of spades, 7 of spades. I decided to check, and the reason I decided to check is under the gun was a little intoxicated. He was playing super loose, super aggressive, going all in with nothing. So I'm just trying to induce a bluff here, or even a bet from a king, which I can get value from. So under the gun bets 8, and I decide to raise to 20. And the reasoning behind this raise is I can get value from his spade draws, which I do not block. I can get value from his king X, which he definitely has in his 3-bet calling range. And also I saw him jam over someone with literally queen high on a 3-club board with no club after they raised. So I think he's going to either go all in as a bluff with spades or a king if I raise here, and he does go all in for about $85. Obviously, I snap call with aces, and because he was that loose, aggressive player. We decided to run it twice. First board is 9 of diamonds, 10 of diamonds. Second board is the 5 of clubs, 9 of hearts. I show because I'm not trying to slow anyone. He says I'm good, so I take down that first pot of the night. All right, let's go ahead and move into the second hand of the first session. I'm here in the small blind. Literally the very next shuffle, we got ace of hearts, king of hearts, getting some good variance going on here. Under the gun, straddle to 2, but he's in the hijack because we're 6-handed. Low jack calls, cutoff calls, and the button calls. So that's 3 callers plus the straddle. And I'm sitting here with ace king out of position. So obviously I'm raising absolutely massive. I raise to $30 trying to isolate, take it down, or especially go after the villain from the previous hand because once again, he was super drunk, just splashing around, playing all types of hands, bluffing his stack away, really trying to go heads up with him. And it works. He decides to call and everyone else folds. Going into the flop, it pots $69. The flop is the 10 of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 4 of clubs. So we absolutely miss everything. But the nice thing is our opponent also probably missed everything, and he really doesn't have that much left. He had like a little over pot left in his stack. So because of that, his range not hitting this board and him being short, I decided to just apply max pressure and go all in. And he's in the tank. He's like, should we run it once? Should we run it twice? I don't know. Like, did you even hit anything? Do you even have it? And at this point, I know he doesn't have a pair, so I'm feeling pretty good. And he does fold, and I was right. He didn't have a pair. So I'm very happy with this play, kind of getting rid of our opponent's chance of sucking out on the turn or river, maximizing our equity, and getting that good range read that he didn't hit the flop. So taking down a nice little pot there. Let's go ahead and move into the last hand of the first session. Here on the button with ace of spades, jack of hearts. Folds to the cutoff, who raises to 3. I 3-bet to 10, as my 3-betting range on the button is going to be much wider. And in addition, in these games, 4-betting almost never occurs, so I feel very fine about 3-betting, and I definitely 3-bet wider. Small blind decides to call, and the cutoff folds. So the pot's $24. Flop is the 8 of spades, 3 of spades, 7 of clubs. Completely miss it besides those 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. Small blind checks, and I decide to check back because this flop definitely hits his range much harder than mine as the 3-bet aggressor versus a 3-bet caller. So I'm not trying to get check raised and blown off my equity or just blown off the hand in general. Turns the 9 of clubs, small blind checks, and I check back once again. Reasoning's the same. 9 of clubs hits his range much harder. He has all the 10-9 suited, Jack-9 suited, 8-9 suited even. Now his 2 pair. He has all the straights. These hands are just very rarely in my range. River's the king of hearts. Small blind checks again, and I check back. Reason I included this hand was just I thought it was pretty interesting hand, considering he checked every street. But I was wondering, would I have called if he bet the river, and would it have been a good call if he bet? And I think the answer is yes, but I think it's a really close spot because in your check back range, I think this is one of the weakest hands you're going to have realistically, besides Queen Jack, because Jack 10's is straight, 5-4, Ace Queen. This is just one of the worst hands you're going to have in your check back range. But even though the opponent was very spewy, this board hits his range way harder. And I just think it's a close spot. And I was just wondering what you guys would have done if the opponent was to say bet half pot on the river. So let me know. All right, so that concludes the first session. Went very well. We won about $200. I didn't have a ton of clips because it was pretty short. And besides the hands I showed, I was pretty card dead. But let's go ahead and move into the second session, which is earlier from about December. And it had some pretty interesting hands. And this is also a home game, about 6-handed. So let's go into the first one. We got the king of clubs, queen of clubs in the big blind, about 150 effective. Under the gun, which is the hijack in this case, raised to $4. And the cutoff, Mim clicked it to 8. And I made it 20 to isolate. Under the gun called, and then cutoff goes all in for about 150. And I call, and then the under the gun also calls. So we got a 3-way all in to start off the day for about $500 at this point. So the pot's about $500. I have the king of clubs, queen of clubs. The opponent under the gun has pocket 9s, and then the cutoff has ace king. So we're not in very good shape here. We're dominated by ace king, and then the 9s, obviously. So we're basically praying for queen or clubs. Hopping to the run out, the flop was the 8 of diamonds, 8 of spades, 10 of clubs. So not a lot of help. We got backdoor straight, straight draws, and flush draws, and that's about it, plus the queen. Turn is the 8 of hearts. So now we got a couple more outs. Any 10, that's about it. Any 10, and then a queen. So once again, not looking good. But then river comes, boom, 10 of diamonds. It's a 3-way chop all in. I've never seen this before in my entire time playing poker. This is the only time I've seen it. King, queen, 9s, ace, king. We get it in bad, and then we somehow come out with a chop 3 ways. This was just absolutely crazy. So after that absolutely insane hand, we're moving into the next one. We're in the small blind with the queen of diamonds, jack of hearts. 2 limpers, and the cutoff makes it 3. And I decide to call in the small blind because in these games you rarely get 3-bet. So why not? We got a decent hand. Let's just see a flop. Both limpers, and we're getting a good price. Both limpers decide to call. So it's 4 ways, and the pot's $13. Flop is pretty good for our hand. It's the queen of clubs, deuce of clubs, 8 of diamonds. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. Hijack checks, and low jack bets 2. Cutoff calls. And I make a somewhat unorthodox play. I don't usually make this play, and I wouldn't at the casino either. I raise to 12. And the reason I did raise to 12 is because I think I can represent the flush draw, and also because I am almost never going to get 3-bet at this table. Once again, the aggression of this table is just so low, and I also want to isolate my opponent in the low jack because he just loves to call, and I can get so much value from him if he has like bottom or even second pair. So I know with this raise, he's going to call, and probably the other 2 opponents are going to fold. which is exactly what happens. They both fold, and the low jack calls, thinking I'm bluffing. He said, I think you're bluffing. You're never raising for value here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I have top pair, and I usually wouldn't do this, but again, I was playing against him. It's just an exploit. So the pot's $39. We're going to a turn. It's the deuce of hearts. This is not a good turn card because, once again, my opponent in the low jack, he's a calling station. He could easily have bottom pair here. So this is not great. I check because it's not a great turn. It's not a great turn card. And he checks back. When he checks back, immediately I know he doesn't have a deuce because when he has a good hand, he loves to get chips in the pot. So I immediately know I am ahead. The river, though, is once again horrible. It's a 3 of clubs. And I think he could easily have a flush here. But I also think I can get value from an 8 or any pocket pair or even ace high because he thinks I'm bluffing after my check raise, or not check raise, my raise on the flop, and then I check back on the turn. I think he's going to think I'm bluffing, and I'm going to make it to where he basically has to call. I'm going to make it such a small bet. And if he raises me, I'm going to fold. And if he calls, I know I'm good. So I bet $10, literally a quarter pot bet. And he calls and I win, and he had an 8. So he had the exact hand I was trying to get value from. Second pair. I played this hand beautifully, exploited the person I knew, and it's something you can take into your game. Get those reads and make those exploits. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the third hand of the second session. Here in the big line with the ace of clubs, king of hearts. Under the gun limps, cutoff raises to 4, and I kick it up to 20. I'm out of position. I want to isolate. We're going to make it a bit bigger. And the cutoff decides to go all in out of turn for $80. And I snap call, under the gun folds. So the pot is about 170. I table my hand. I have ace of clubs, king of hearts. He has king of clubs, 10 of clubs. This guy is in a very bad spot. Because of that, and the fact he was down a bit on the night, I recommend that we run it twice. And after I explain to him why that benefits him, because he has a higher chance of chopping, because, he's more likely to hit a 10 or clubs on 2 runouts than 1, he agrees. So we head into the first runout. First runout, 2 of clubs, 6 of hearts, 4 of spades, of course, the 10 of hearts, and then the 7 of diamonds. So he hits a 3-outer on the first runout. And at this point, best case scenario, I am getting half the pot. But he has to hit a 2-outer or clubs. So he has less than a 10% chance to win this next one. Almost nothing. Second runout, right in the window, 10 of diamonds, 8 of hearts, 4 of hearts, 4 of clubs, 3 of hearts. Doesn't even matter. Didn't even have a chance. He wins both, so he takes all my bread. It wasn't a ton. It was about $80. But I don't think I've run this bad on an all-in before ever. I lose a run out to a 3-outer and then a 2-outer. The odds of that have to be under 5%. And I'm just showing you this to let you know that luck is always involved and you just got to take it on the chin and move on. And that's poker, man. Let's go ahead and move into the fourth hand of the second session here on the button with Big Slick once again. Ace of spades, king of diamonds. 2 limpers to me, so I decided to bump it up to 6. And only the big blind calls. Pot's $15. Flop is a 3 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. Big blind checks to me. I bet $10 and they decide to fold. Now, you might be asking yourself, Logan, why did you include this? This was a very boring hand. It was just a C bet and you took it down. The reason I'm including this is because you can learn an exploit from this. Before this hand, everyone was really talkative and you could just tell no one was really interested in their cards. When people are talking a lot and then they look at their cards and they stop talking a lot, that's when you know they have a good hand. But when people are looking at their cards, they are talking a lot before, look and they keep talking a lot after, you know they don't have a good hand unless they know this tell, then they're going to keep talking. But when you're playing with amateurs, they don't. So I noticed with my opponent when she looked at her cards and looked at the flop, she was talking a lot before, and then she continued to talk a lot after, didn't seem interested in the hand. So I knew she didn't have a good hand, and a larger c-bet sizing would take it down. I made the larger c-bet sizing, took it down, no problem. So you can incorporate this into your games. Notice the dynamics of the table. When people are super talkative and they look at their hand, does their demeanor change? Do they talk the same amount? Do they talk less? How interested are they in their hand? Very important to keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and move into the last hand of the second session here in the cutoff with the 5 of spades, 4 of clubs. Just playing hands. The night was almost over, so just trying to play hands in position. Why not? One limper to me, and I decided to raise a 6 so I can isolate, but it's towards the end of the night, so everyone's trying to play. 3 players decide to call. Button, small blind, and low jack. So the pot's $24 hopping into a flop. Literally could not be a better flop for my hand. Queen of diamonds, 5 of spades, or 5 of clubs, 4 of spades. So I banked bottom 2 pair. Very nice. Very happy with that. Small blind decides to donk out for 4. The low jack calls, and I decide to raise to 16. Reasoning behind this raise, there's 4 people in this pot. I don't block top pair. And I think someone's easily going to call, and I want to isolate. I don't want people to suck out on me. This, however, does not work. They all decide to call when I raise a 16. So now I'm just wondering what the hell these people have. And the pot's $84 hopping into a turn, which is the 10 of diamonds. Very interesting turn. This introduces a lot of straight draws and flush draws, which someone could easily have because, again, there's 3 other players here. So it's another thing for me to get value from. Only hand I'm really worried about at this point that has me beat is Queen 10. But small blind decides to bet 8, and the low jack calls, and I go all in for about 150 effective. And the reasoning behind this is, once again, all those draws will give me value. I think top pair might get curious. I block all the sets. Only realistic other 2 pairs, Queen 10. And I think one of them will call me. This is a very loose table. So the button does call, and I think, great. He might have a draw, probably doesn't have me beat. But then the small blind calls. So I'm wondering, okay, I guess 2 people have a queen. But then the low jack also calls. So we got a 4-way all in. And the pot is about $700 in a $100 buy-in game. So this is very interesting. I think I could be good, though, with the draws. And the river comes the king of spades. I say I got 2 pair. Button says you got it. Small blind missed the draw. But then the low jack flips over king of diamonds, or not king of diamonds, a queen and a 10. So the 2 pair I was worried about got hit on the turn. And I lose an absolutely insane pot. 4-way all in. Once again, I think my play here was correct. It's just sometimes you get unlucky and someone happened to have a higher 2 pair. All right, guys, so that is about it. Finish up those 2 home game sessions. We profited on the video. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was some fun games with friends. Again, coming up, I am going to be in the Bahamas, and I'm going to be going to MGM as well. So stay tuned for those videos. They should be coming shortly. And thanks for watching, guys.